So I decided to follow up Sunday's message with that Bible Project video. We did the Bible Project video first on God's compassion, because it is compassion that motivates Jesus. He is God in the flesh. Compassion motivates Jesus. It is one of Jesus's characteristics, and because he has that, it's just who he is. It's just what makes him tick, and that's what leads to his healing ministry, which of course healing was a major part of the reading on Sunday of Jesus healing. And I wanted you to know that what makes Christ reach out to heal, it's compassion. It's compassion. And it's important for us to know that too, as a church which prays for the sick and is very concerned about healing ministries. We need to do that out of compassion as well. Christ's compassion in us. So I wanted to say more about compassion. Now the Bible Project video, I just thought it did an excellent job of explaining compassion and what's that all about. But in my comments, wanted to go over a few examples of compassion in Jesus's ministry and in his words. The first one I want to pick from is Mark 6, starting in verse 34. The scenario here is Jesus has been busy in ministry with his disciples. There's always been crowds around. Now they need a bit of a break. They need to get away from the crowd, so they get in the boat. They go across the lake to get away from everybody. But the crowds are so excited about what's going on, they come around the lake. And when Jesus comes ashore, everybody's there. It says this, when he went ashore, he saw a great crowd. You might expect, and he was fed up with that. That's not what it says. And he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. He had compassion on them. He's moved to help them. And this is going to be you. You may think, oh, the Lord has got to be fed up with me. How many times have I brought this to him? How many times have I pestered him with this? He's going to be fed up. He's not. He has compassion. And, you know, when we get in situations where we feel fed up with people, what to do? Remember how much compassion Jesus has for you. Even ask for Jesus and his compassion to be inside you. That will transform your reaction in that situation. Another example of, this is a little different. There's many, many examples. I'm kind of cherry picking ones that I find interesting. In Mark 9, we have around verse 22, we have this, actually a little bit before that. A father has brought his son to Jesus, and the son has been suffering terribly with a demon oppression and all kinds of terrible symptoms from that. Jesus asks the father, how long has this been happening to him? And he said, from childhood. And it's often, the evil spirit has often cast him into fire and into water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, the father says to him, have compassion and help us. And Jesus says, if I can. In other words, you know, if I have power and also if I have compassion, of course I have compassion and power to do something about it. And Jesus reaches out and gives healing to this man. This is actually the man who says, he says, all things are possible to the one who believes. The father cries out, I believe, help my unbelief. Jesus is moved. He has compassion for this guy, even in his weakness. He just cares about people. In another example, in Luke 7, verse 13, thereabouts, the situation is a widow, her only son, obviously her husband has died, that's why she's a widow, her only son has died. And there's a funeral procession. And they're taking him out in the town of Nain. And when Jesus sees her weeping, it says he had compassion on her. You need to know this about the word compassion. It's an emotional word. God has emotions. Jesus has emotions, so does the Father, and they have emotions. The word in the Bible Project video did a lot with the Hebrew. The word here in Greek is splagchidznomai. Splagchidznomai. What a funny sounding word. It means literally his gut was moved. His gut was moved. He has a physical, emotional reaction to seeing this woman weeping. He feels compassion, like Didsnamai, and he reaches out and he puts his hand on that deceased son and he raises him to life again, right there in his own funeral procession. His gut was moved. This is an amazing characteristic of God, this emotional, visceral movement, care for people who cry out to him. It is not like, if you want to get some compassion from God, well, it'd be better if you caught him just after he got up from a good nap. Otherwise, no. This is God's characteristic. He is always and consistently going to be like this. You may depend on it. Even though you are not perfect, even though you are far from perfect, and you have sinned, there are just so many examples of undeserving sinners crying out to God, and their cries move him. Splagchidsnamai, that gut reaction, their cries move him to compassion, like the cries of a baby move the mother to come to that baby and care for it. That's a characteristic of God and of Jesus. Even if you have turned away from God in the past, cry out to him now, and his characteristic of compassion will move him and move him to care for you. Two more examples. In Luke 10:33 and thereabouts, it's the parable Jesus tells of the Good Samaritan. Others have walked by the beaten up Jewish man, not really caring, haven't got time. But the Samaritan, it says, has compassion on him, on this beaten up Jewish man. And these two, Samaritans and Jews, are supposed to be enemies. Doesn't matter. His need, just his need, moves him with compassion. And the Good Samaritan is a picture to us of God. Of God. One final example. You'll know this story, the parable of the waiting father, or the parable of the prodigal son. I think more accurately called the parable of the waiting father. The father sees his younger son returning. This is the son who sometime before had terribly insulted his father, brutally insulted his father, taken half the family estate and squandered it, financially hurt everything, insult, and now the son has fared very badly in a distant country. He's coming back now in bad shape. And it says, when the father saw this son returning, the son who had insulted him so badly, it says, he had compassion on him. Splagchidsnamai. His gut was moved with compassion for him. Not just his gut, but the father runs to him and embraces him. God and Jesus is emotional like this and is always moved by the cries of those who need him and who pray to him. Be confident of that as you cry out in your needs and as you teach others to do the same. God bless you.